I recently found this copy of Silent Hill for sale at a local garage sale just beside my little town. I happened to come across it just browsing the wares that the couple had shown in their yard away from the home from school that afternoon. I picked it up, began flipping over to check it out. The cover seemed to be some sort of damage to it, but nothing else. I popped out the disc and gave a look over too. No scratches. I was overjoyed about that. Me and my buddies wanted to find a horror game that we could play for our horror night we had planned. That night was tonight, so I figured that if the man and the woman wanted a good price for it, why not bring up the little PS2 treasure over there? Excuse me, I asked the man who came over to me. He appeared to be very tough, rough-looking dude, but he was very kind to me. You find something you want, kiddo? He asked. His gaze shifted from me to the video game that I had between my hands, and he smiled. Oh, see, you found my old disc. He began to laugh. He didn't look like much of a gamer to me. He surprised me by saying this. The disc was yours? I asked in awe. Yep, had some good nights with it. It scared the hell out of me most of those nights. Tell you what, if you want it, it's yours. I was overjoyed. I shook my hands with the man who gave me his name and number and left the garage sale happily, almost skipping. Horror night was upon us. I brought over the new copy of Silent Hill 2 that I had picked up, and Jeff brought it over The Grudge. Howard brought an 8-movie horror pack that you can buy from Walmart, pretty cheap. If you know where to look, the first movie we watched was The Grudge. It scared us enough that we wanted something less scary to watch next. So we watched the knockoff horror films that were an 8-pack. I finally told the guys about my Silent Hill 2 I had brought, and they wanted to try it out as much as I wanted to. So after dragging out my PS2, we popped it in. I played it first, and I made it through the Blue Creek apartments. Howard played next to and made it halfway through the hospital. Jeff played last, and he finished the hospital and started on the underground prison. As we were tired, but all three of us just wanted to finish the game. By this point had given us some pretty decent scares. We neared the end of the prison when the PS2 cut off for some reason. Then we tried to boot up our save file, but it was all lost. We shook hands, said our goodbyes, and Jeff and Howard left without another word. I plopped back on the couch and made sure that the PS2 was off. Then I took the remote and played with it a little. Man, what about the times we had? I was thinking about all those games that were beaten using this very controller. You should have went away. I jumped as the TV cut on and revealed the scene from Silent 2 that I didn't recognize. James was sitting down on the bed in the underground prison, shaking his head while screams could be heard all around him. Why was I left to die? He was asking himself. Startled, I reached for the PS2 and found it to be turned on. I examined my controller and pressed firmly on the control stick. Could our game have been saved after all? James shook his head on the screen and then finally stood up. Finally came up on the screen as subtitle. I guessing James was talking, referring to how long it had been since I picked up the controller. I loved it when games did stuff like that. I found the door to the cell that James was locked in. With nowhere out, I had turned back to the bed. An item was resting on it, so I picked it up. It was James' old flashlight. I turned around and found a pyramid head looking at James through the bars. I jumped as James backed up against the wall as the monster began to grab hold of the bars, and for a second it looked like he was trying to dislodge them to get to James. Why was I left here so long? James blurted out. As I whirled around the room looking for a way out, I located his radio on the toilet of the small cell, and it began to blurt out static. It's too late, James said, as I kept trying to find a way out. Terrified, I ran my hands down to the PS2 and switched it off, just as Pyramid Head had ripped off the bars to the cell. I took a short breath of relief, and that was definitely not in the original game. What happened there? I mashed down on the power button on the game, and it came straight back to the title screen. I went through the files and discovered that our file was still there. I selected it, and the loading screen was just brought to the roof of the hospital. I was puzzled as we beat this area a long time ago. I tried exiting the roof, but James kept saying that it was locked and was broken. I tried turning around, but discovered that James was frozen in place. Alone. A subtitle escaped. It made me feel on edge. I hear the sound of Pyramid Head's knife behind James, and I knew the game was getting back to normal. But instead of being knocked off the roof, James was grabbed, and his neck was snapped. He fell dead on the roof, and as I watched in horror, no way! I reached for the power button again, and didn't touch the game until the next night. When I woke up that morning, I got a hold of the guy who I bought it from and began to talk about the weird stuff that happened last night. Well, that game, it's very important that you beat it, he said. I tried to question him more about it, but all he said was that I had to beat it before 12 tonight. He didn't tell me why. I said whatever. I was planning on beating it tonight anyway, so yeah, why not give myself a time limit? I once again mashed on the power button and was ready for all the weird stuff from last night to cease and for the real game to come up. It did. The game started back up where you would normally start. James finished washing his face and made his way outside, but instead of going to the side and talking about his life, giving you an idea about him, James walked over to his car and began talking. Just a glitch. The game played out normally, and I actually managed to beat Maria rather quickly. She seemed a lot weaker than I remembered. The ending was shown. This was the new ending I had never seen before. James leaves town with Laura in his passenger seat. They said nothing. A loud bang was heard from the back of the car, causing the pair to stop. Laura asks what's wrong, and James replies with, "Shut up." I laughed, thinking that it was a way out of character. Someone must have hacked into this game for some reason. James pops his trunk and grabs a small pocket knife out of the side of the door. He walks to the back and quickly opens it to reveal a large brown sack. James shakes his head as he stabs the sack, and the screen is quickly taken to a back. I examined in my save, and it was still there. Glancing at the clock, I found out that it was 2 minutes before 12. I was pretty proud of myself, and I fell asleep on futon that night. I called the guy from the garage sale, and he agreed to meet me at the town for the closest burger joint. He was there first and waved me over with a smile. I sat down across from him so we could talk better. "I finished it, right before 12, I said as soon as I sat down. He shook his head, then threw a paper down on the table. "Not quite." Puzzled, I looked at the paper. His hand slammed down on mine and gazed at me. "Now before you read this, let me tell you what you played last night was no mere game. It was cursed," he said, as he slowly withdrew his hand. My eyes were on his. "What? Did you notice anything strange about it?" "Yeah, a lot of things. Figured someone hacked in the files or something." "I did too, and I never should have given you that game." The man withdrew from his seat and left. I took up the paper and was horrified when I read. 2 local boys found. One appeared to have been stabbed multiple times and then drowned in a small county pond. The other seemed to have his head snapped. Both were found just behind the Welcome to Cherrywood Road sign. I will never ever play a Silent Hill game ever again. I will, however, always check my clock to make sure it's on the right time.
What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Ms. Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, please stay pretty.